The alarm screamed through the metal hallways of the outpost. Ji-won Kim jumped from her bed, her heart pounding hard in her chest. Red lights flashed everywhere, making shadows dance on the walls. Something was very wrong. She grabbed her uniform and ran toward the command center. Other soldiers rushed past her in the corridors. Some were aliens she had never seen before, with scales or fur or strange glowing eyes. They all looked scared. That made Ji-won even more frightened. Ji-won was the only human working as a communications officer at this remote station. The outpost sat on a moon called Valor 7, far from Earth and far from anywhere important. It was a mining colony, boring and quiet, until now. When she reached the command center, Commander Hyun-woo Park was already there. He was human too, older than Ji-won by many years. His face looked serious as he stared at the screens on the wall. "What happened, sir?" Ji-won asked. "Something came up from the old mines," the commander said. His voice was steady, but Ji-won could hear the worry in it. Something big. On the screens, Ji-won saw security camera footage. A massive creature moved through the lower levels of the facility. It looked like a giant snake, but with 6 legs and black scales that shine like glass. Its head had too many eyes, and when it opened its mouth, she counted 3 rows of sharp teeth. The creature moved fast, faster than anything that big should move. It killed a worker in the video. Ji-won looked away, feeling sick. "Lieutenant Vorthon is taking a squad down there," Commander Park said. "They will stop it." Lieutenant Vorthon was a Scaran, a lizard-like alien race known for being tough warriors. He did not like humans much. He often said humans were weak and soft. But right now, Ji-won hoped he was as strong as he claimed. Minutes passed slowly. Everyone in the command center watched the screens. They saw Lieutenant Vorthon and his squad of 12 soldiers moving through the cargo bay. They carried big plasma rifles and wore thick armor. They looked ready for anything. Then the creature appeared. It came from the ceiling, dropping down like a shadow. The soldiers fired their weapons. Bright bolts of energy hit the creature's scales, but nothing happened. The creature did not even slow down. What happened next was terrible. The creature moved between the soldiers like water flowing around rocks. Its claws cut through their armor like paper. Its teeth found throats and bellies. Screams filled the audio feed. In less than 2 minutes, all 12 soldiers were dead. Lieutenant Vorthon's last words were just a scream of pure fear. The command center became silent. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. "Seal the blast doors," Commander Park finally said. His voice shook just a little. "Everyone evacuate to the upper levels now." The next few hours were chaos. The creature kept coming level by level. More soldiers tried to stop it. None succeeded. Ji-won watched people she knew die on the security cameras. She wanted to cry, but she had work to do. She sent messages to Coalition Command begging for help. The reply came back quickly. Help was coming, but it would take 2 days to arrive. 2 days. The outpost had maybe 200 people. Already more than half were dead. Ji-won's friend Suman found her at her station. Suman was human too. A medical officer with kind eyes and steady hands. Right now, those hands were covered in blood from treating the wounded. "We need to leave," Suman said quietly. "This station is lost." "The commander won't abandon the post," Ji-won replied. "Then the commander will die," Suman said. She looked tired and sad, "And so will we if we stay." But Commander Park refused to retreat. He was an old soldier, and old soldiers did not run from fights. He ordered everyone else to head to the emergency shuttles while he and a few others prepared to make a final stand. Ji-won could not just leave. She went to the archive room instead, looking through old files. Something about this creature seemed familiar. She had heard stories about the old mines, about ancient things buried deep below the surface. In the dusty computer files, she found reports from centuries ago. Mining crews had found strange tunnels that nobody built. They found walls covered with symbols. And they found warnings written in languages nobody could read. One report mentioned attacks. A creature had killed miners long ago, just like now. The old records called it a guardian. But a guardian of what? Ji-won found a translation program and fed in some of the ancient symbols from the photographs. The computer struggled with the language, but it gave her a few words. Ancient, worthy, blood, heritage. What did that mean? An explosion shook the building. Ji-won fell from her chair. The lights flickered and died. Emergency lights came on, casting everything in a dim red glow. She heard gunfire in the distance. Then screaming. Then silence. Commander Park was dead. She knew it without being told. The creature had broken through the last defenses. Jiwan grabbed her radio. She tried to call Suman, tried to call anyone. No response. Either the communication system was damaged or everyone else was already gone. She was alone. Jiwan looked at the computer screen one more time. The translation program had finished working on another line of text. The words made her skin feel cold. The Guardian seeks only the worthy. Those who carry the blood of the ancients may yet live. Blood of the ancients? What ancients? Jiwan did not understand. A sound came from the hallway. Something heavy dragging across metal. Claws clicking on the floor. The creature was coming. Jiwan looked around the room. There was no other exit. No weapon, no way to fight. She pressed herself against the wall and tried to stay quiet, but her breathing sounded so loud in her ears. The door exploded inward. Metal pieces flew across the room, and there it was, filling the doorway with its massive black body. The creature's many eyes fixed on Jiwan. Its mouth opened slowly, showing all those terrible teeth. It moved forward, and she could smell it now like hot metal and old blood. This was how she would die. Far from Earth, far from home, in a dark room on a forgotten moon. Jiwan closed her eyes and waited for the end. The killing blow never came. Jiwan waited, her heart beating so fast she thought it might explode. But nothing happened. No pain. No teeth tearing into her flesh. Just silence. Slowly, she opened her eyes. The creature stood right in front of her, so close she could have touched it. Its massive head tilted to one side, studying her. Then it did something strange. It leaned forward and sniffed her, its nostrils flaring wide. Jiwan held perfectly still. She barely breathed. The creature sniffed her hair, her face, her hands. It seemed confused, like a dog trying to recognize someone from long ago. Then the creature did something impossible. It backed away from her and lowered its body to the ground. Its head bowed down until it touched the floor. The creature was kneeling before her. Jiwan stared, unable to believe what she was seeing. This thing had killed hundreds of trained soldiers. It had torn through metal and armor like they were nothing. And now it knelt before her like a dog waiting for its master. "What are you?" she whispered. The creature lifted its head and looked at her with its many eyes. And then something amazing happened. Images filled Jiwan's mind. Not words, but pictures and feelings that came from the creature itself. She saw ancient times, millions of years ago. She saw humans, but not like the humans of today. These people were taller, stronger, with eyes that glowed with strange light. They walked among creatures like this one, not as masters and pets, but as equals, as partners. The visions kept coming. She saw great cities that floated in the sky. She saw ships that could travel between stars in moments. She saw a civilization so advanced that they could change the very fabric of space and time. And then she saw the end, the cities falling. The people leaving, going away to somewhere the creature could not follow, and the creature left behind to guard something precious, waiting for someone who would never come back, until now. The visions stopped. Jiwan fell to her knees, gasping. Her head hurt from all the information flooding into her brain. "You think I am one of them," she said slowly, understanding. "You think I am one of those ancient humans." The creature made a sound, a low rumble that she somehow knew meant yes. "But I am not," Jiwan said. "I am just me. I am nobody special." More images came. The creature showed her blood, DNA, the tiny building blocks that made up every living thing. It showed her that she carried something in her genes, something old and special. A marker left by the ancient humans. The creature could smell it, could sense it in her. That was why it knelt. That was why it did not kill her. Jiwan slowly reached out her hand. The creature stayed perfectly still, letting her touch its scales. They were warm and smooth, like polished stone heated by the sun. "I need to call you something," she said softly. "How about Sentinel?" "Because you were left here to guard something." The creature, Sentinel, made that rumbling sound again. Jiwan took it as agreement. Through their strange connection, Sentinel showed her more. Deep below the outpost, beneath the mines, there was a vault, a sealed chamber left by the ancient humans. Sentinel had been sleeping there for millions of years, until the mining work disturbed its rest and damaged the vault's seals. When Sentinel woke up and found strangers in the sacred place it had attacked, it killed everyone because none of them carried the ancient marker. They were all wrong, all threats to what it guarded. But Ji-won was different. She had the marker. That made her family, in a way. That made her worthy. The vault, Ji-won said. What is inside it? Sentinel could not explain in words. The images it sent were confusing. Knowledge, power, legacy. Things left behind for those who came after. And then Sentinel sent one more image. Ji-won saw herself walking into the vault. She saw tests, challenges, dangers. If she succeeded, Sentinel would accept her fully. If she failed, Sentinel would do what it was made to do. It would destroy everything and everyone to protect the vault. So I have to go down there, Ji-won said quietly. I have to face whatever is in that vault, or everyone dies. Sentinel did not respond, but she knew the answer was yes. Ji-won took a deep breath and stood up. Her legs shook, but she forced herself to stay steady. She needed to find the other survivors first. She needed to tell them what she had learned. Come on, she said to Sentinel. We need to find my friends. Sentinel stood and followed her through the destroyed hallways. Ji-won tried not to look at the bodies they passed. So many dead. So many people she had known, had worked with, had eaten meals with in the cafeteria, all gone because of a misunderstanding. Because Sentinel thought it was protecting something sacred, and the soldiers thought they were defending their home. They reached the shuttle bay. The big doors were sealed shut from the inside. Ji-won knocked on the metal. It is me, she called out. It is Ji-won. I am alive. Silence. Then she heard voices arguing on the other side. Finally, the door opened, just a crack. Sumin's face appeared, her eyes wide with shock. Ji-won? How are you? Then Sumin saw Sentinel standing behind her friend. Her face went white. Get away from that thing. It is okay, Ji-won said quickly. It will not hurt me. It will not hurt any of you, I promise. Will not hurt us. Sumin's voice rose high and scared. That thing killed Commander Park. It killed everyone. I know, and I am sorry. But I can explain. Please let me in. Let me tell you what I learned. More faces appeared at the door. Ji-won counted 8 people, all that remained from 200. They all stared at Sentinel with terror in their eyes. A blue-skinned alien named Minho spoke up. He was a scientist, always curious about everything. Even now, even scared, his eyes studied Sentinel with interest. How did you survive? Minho asked. Everyone else died in seconds. Why not you? Because I am human, Ji-won said simply. Because my DNA has something that the creature recognizes. Something ancient. She told them everything she had learned. About the ancient human civilization. About the vault below. About the test she had to face. Most of them did not believe her. They thought she was crazy or lying. But Minho listened carefully, and so did Sumin. Show us, Minho said. Show us that you control this creature. Ji-won turned to Sentinel. Through their connection, she asked it to do something harmless. Sentinel walked forward slowly, then lay down on the floor and rolled onto its back, exposing its belly. The survivors gasped. A killing machine reduced to acting like a playful pet. I have to go into the vault, Ji-won said. If I pass the test, Sentinel will protect us all. If I fail, well, she did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Sumin pushed through the door and grabbed Ji-won's hands. I am coming with you, Sumin said firmly. You cannot. It has to be me. Then I will go as far as I can, Sumin said. You are not walking into danger alone. Not while I am still breathing. Ji-won felt tears in her eyes. She hugged her friend tight. Okay, she whispered. Okay, let us go. The journey down into the old mines was like walking into the mouth of a giant beast. The walls were dark and cold. Strange marks covered the stone, symbols that looked almost familiar to Ji-won but made no sense. Ji-won walked in front with a flashlight. Sumin followed close behind, her hand resting on the medical kit at her belt. Sentinel moved behind them both, its massive body somehow silent despite its size. The deeper they went, the stranger everything became. The rock walls changed from rough mining tunnels to smooth carved surfaces. The symbols grew more complex, covering every surface in patterns that seemed to move in the corner of Jiwon's vision. "How deep does this go?" Suman asked. Her voice echoed in the darkness. "I do not know," Jiwon answered, "but I can feel we are getting close to something." It was true. With every step, Jiwon felt a strange pull in her chest, like a rope tied to her heart dragging her forward. She could sense Sentinel's emotions through their connection. The creature was anxious but also excited. After millions of years alone, it was finally bringing someone home. They walked for what felt like hours. Time became meaningless in the dark. Finally, they reached a massive chamber. The ceiling rose so high that Jiwon's flashlight could not reach it. Pillars of carved stone held up the darkness like the bones of a sleeping god. In the center of the chamber stood a door. It was huge, easily 30 feet tall, made of metal that looked like liquid silver frozen in place. More symbols covered its surface, glowing faintly with their own light. "That is it," Jiwon whispered. "That is the vault." As they approached, the symbols on the door began to glow brighter. Sentinel stopped walking. Through their connection, Jiwon felt the creature's sadness. This was as far as it could go. "You cannot come with me," Jiwon said to Sentinel, "can you?" The creature lowered its head. "No, this test was for humans only." Jiwon walked up to the door. When she was close enough to touch it, the metal began to ripple like water. Symbols rearranged themselves, forming new patterns. Then a voice spoke, not with sound but directly in her mind. "Welcome, child of the ancients. The test awaits. Enter alone." Suman grabbed Jiwon's arm. Her grip was tight, desperate. "Are you sure about this?" Suman asked. "We could just run. Take a shuttle and leave before help arrives." Jiwon shook her head. "If I run, Sentinel will wake up again. It will hunt us. It will destroy everything to protect this place. I have to try. Then come back," Suman said, tears in her eyes. "Promise me you will come back." "I promise," Jiwon said. She hugged her friend one last time, then turned to face the door. When Jiwon touched the metal, it felt warm. The door opened without sound, revealing a passage filled with light. She took a deep breath and stepped through. The door closed behind her immediately. Suman and Sentinel were gone. Jiwon was completely alone. The passage led to a round room. It was beautiful in a strange way. The walls glowed with soft blue light. In the center of the room stood a pedestal with a crystal sphere resting on top. The voice spoke again in her mind. "3 tests you must pass. First, the test of mind. Show us you can think as the ancients thought." The room changed. Suddenly, images appeared in the air around Jiwon. Equations, puzzles, problems written in mathematics so complex they made her head hurt. "Solve them," the voice commanded. Jiwon stared at the equations. She had studied mathematics at school, but this was far beyond anything she had learned. This was the kind of math used to bend space, to create energy from nothing, to build worlds. "I cannot do this," she said quietly. "I am not smart enough. You carry the blood. The knowledge sleeps within you. Wake it." Jiwon closed her eyes. She remembered what Sentinel had shown her, the genetic marker in her DNA. Maybe the voice was right. Maybe the ancient humans had left something more than just symbols. Maybe they left knowledge coded into the genes of their descendants. She stopped trying to solve the equations with her conscious mind. Instead, she let her thoughts drift. She felt for something deeper, something buried in her cells. And then she found it. Answers came to her like memories. Her hands moved on their own, reaching out to touch the floating equations and rearrange them. She understood concepts that should have been impossible. The math made sense now, as natural as breathing. One by one, she solved the puzzles. Each solution revealed the next problem, harder and more complex. But Jiwon did not slow down. The knowledge flowed through her like water. When the last equation dissolved into light, the voice spoke again. "The first test is complete. Now the test of body. Show us you can move as the ancients moved." The room changed again. The floor disappeared, replaced by a series of platforms floating in darkness. They moved constantly, spinning and rising and falling. "Cross," the voice said simply. Jiwon looked at the gap between where she stood and the first platform. It was too far to jump. At least it should have been too far. But something was happening to her body. She felt stronger, lighter. Her muscles felt dense and powerful. When she looked down at her hands, they seemed to glow faintly with the same light as the walls. The ancient genetic modifications were activating. Her body was changing, becoming what it was always meant to be. Ji-won jumped. She flew through the air far further than any normal human could jump. She landed on the first platform easily. Then she kept going, platform to platform, leaping across impossible gaps. Her reflexes were faster now. She could see the patterns and how the platforms moved. She knew where each one would be before it got there. Energy barriers appeared, trying to block her path. She dodged them easily. Spinning blades rose from the darkness. She jumped over them without fear. This body was not fully human anymore. It was something more, something better. When she reached the final platform, the room changed back to normal. Ji-won stood there, breathing hard but not tired. She felt amazing, powerful, alive in a way she had never experienced before. "The second test is complete," the voice said. "Now comes the final test. The test of spirit. This one you cannot fight or think your way through. You must choose." The crystal sphere on the pedestal began to glow brighter. Ji-won walked toward it, drawn by its light. "Touch the sphere," the voice commanded. "See the truth. Then make your choice." Ji-won reached out and placed her hands on the crystal. Immediately, her mind was pulled away from her body. She found herself in a void surrounded by shapes made of light. The shapes spoke with many voices. "We are the ancients. What remains of us? We left this place so long ago, but we left behind our knowledge, our power, our legacy." Ji-won tried to speak, but she had no mouth in this place. The ancients understood her thoughts anyway. "We see your question. You want to know why we left? The answer is simple. We became too powerful. We had technology that could create or destroy entire galaxies. We had knowledge that let us rewrite the laws of reality itself, and we were destroying everything. Not on purpose, but power without wisdom is dangerous. We nearly broke the universe itself with our experiments, so we left. We went away to a place where we could not cause harm. But we left behind gifts for those who would come after. For our descendants. For you, the void filled with images." Ji-won saw technology beyond imagination. Weapons that could destroy stars. Machines that could build worlds. Knowledge that would make modern humans into gods. "All this can be yours," the ancients said. "Take our legacy. Become what we were. Lead your people to greatness." But then they showed her something else. Visions of what could happen if she took everything. Wars fought with terrible weapons. Civilizations destroyed by accident. The galaxy burning, or the ancients said you can refuse. Destroy the vault. Let our knowledge die with us. Keep your people innocent and safe. 2 choices. All or nothing. Ji-won thought about it. She thought about humanity, still young and making mistakes. She thought about the other species in the galaxy. She thought about the future. Finally, she spoke with her mind. "I choose neither." The shapes made of light seemed confused by her answer. "Neither? That is not possible. You must choose one or the other." "No," Ji-won said firmly. "I will not take all your power. We are not ready for that, but I will not destroy it either. That would be a waste. I choose a third path." "What third path?" "I will become the guardian, just like Sentinel. I will protect this knowledge and share it slowly, carefully when my people are ready for it. Not all at once. Little by little. I will make sure we learn from your mistakes instead of repeating them." The ancients were silent for a long moment. Then their voices came again, softer now, almost pleased. "Wisdom, this is what we lacked. This is why we failed. You have passed the true test." The test was never about power or sacrifice. It was about understanding that some questions have more than 2 answers. The void began to change. The shapes of light moved closer to Ji-won, surrounding her like a warm embrace. "We give you the tools you need. The knowledge to understand what lies in this vault. The authority to control the guardians we left behind. And the modifications to your body that will let you live long enough to guide your people wisely. But we also give you a warning. Even with good intentions, power corrupts. You must stay connected to those who knew you before. Let them remind you of who you were. Do not forget your humanity even as you become something more." "I understand," Ji-won said. "I will remember." The light grew so bright it hurt. Ji-won felt the ancients pouring their knowledge into her mind. Millions of years of history. Scientific principles she could barely comprehend. Languages dead for eons. The locations of other vaults hidden across the galaxy. It should have driven her insane. No human mind could hold so much information. But the genetic modifications helped. Her brain changed, expanded, created new connections. She became a living library of ancient wisdom. When the light faded, Ji-won found herself back in the round room. She was still holding the crystal sphere, but now it was warm and pulsing with a heartbeat. She looked at her hands. They glowed with the soft light that came from within. When she moved, she could feel the power flowing through her. She was stronger now, faster. Her senses were sharper. She could hear the hum of energy in the walls, could smell the age of the stone, could see colors that did not exist for normal human eyes. But she was still herself, still Ji-won. That was the most important part. The door opened behind her. Time to return to the world. When Ji-won stepped out of the vault, Sumin was waiting right where she had been left. The moment Sumin saw her, she ran forward and grabbed Ji-won in a tight hug. "You came back. Thank goodness you came back." Then Sumin pulled away and really looked at her friend. Her eyes went wide. "Ji-won, your eyes. They are glowing," Ji-won smiled gently. "A lot has changed. But I am still me. I promise." Sentinel approached and lowered its head. Through their connection, Ji-won felt the creature's absolute devotion. It recognized her now as true kin, as worthy of the ancient legacy. "Come on," Ji-won said. "We need to get back to the others. They will want to know what happened." The journey back up through the mines felt shorter. Ji-won moved easily now, her enhanced body needing no rest. Sumin struggled to keep up, panting with effort. "Slow down," Sumin called out. Not all of us became superhuman. Ji-won stopped and waited, feeling embarrassed. This was going to take some getting used to. When they reached the upper levels, Ji-won did something she had not tried before. She reached out with her mind, not just to Sentinel, but to the facility itself. The ancient technology in the walls responded to her touch. Lights flickered on throughout the building. Power systems that had been damaged began to repair themselves. Sealed doors opened. The facility was healing. "How are you doing that?" Sumin asked in amazement. "The people who built the deep chambers also built parts of this facility. Their technology recognizes me now. It obeys me." They found the other survivors still in the shuttle bay. When Ji-won entered, everyone stared at her. Her glowing eyes. The way she moved with perfect grace. The crystal sphere she now carried, pulsing with its own heartbeat. Minho stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "You succeeded." "What happened down there?" Ji-won explained everything. The tests. The choice. Her decision to become a guardian rather than take all the power or destroy it. Most of the survivors still looked scared. They did not know what to make of this changed human standing before them. But Minho understood. That was wise, he said. Power given all at once would destroy any civilization, but power shared carefully over time could help everyone. "Exactly," Ji-won said. "I am not your master. I am just a keeper of knowledge." "A guardian like Sentinel and the creature?" asked one of the other survivors nervously. "What about it? Sentinel will protect this place now. It will not harm anyone unless they try to damage the vault. As long as we treat this site with respect, we are safe." She turned to look at Sentinel. The massive creature lay down on the floor, making itself look as non-threatening as possible. "See? Just a big protective guardian. Nothing to fear." The survivors slowly began to relax. They had been living in terror for so long. Now finally, they could rest. "How long until help arrives?" Ji-won asked. "Less than 12 hours now," Minho said. "The coalition fleet is close. Good. When they arrive, I will need to speak with whoever is in command. There is a lot to explain." "That will be interesting," Sumin said with a tired laugh. "Imagine their faces when they see you have tamed the monster that killed an entire garrison." Ji-won smiled. "Yes, that will definitely be interesting." She sat down against the wall, suddenly feeling exhausted. The modifications to her body were still settling in. She needed rest. Sumin sat down beside her and took her hand. "Are you scared?" Sumin asked quietly. "About what comes next?" "Terrified," Ji-won admitted. "I have all this knowledge now. All this power. What if I make a mistake? What if I share something I should not? Or keep secret something that people need?" "Then you will learn from it," Sumin said. "Just like any person learns from their mistakes. The ancients gave you knowledge, but they also gave you time. You do not have to figure everything out today." Ji-won squeezed her friend's hand. "Thank you. For everything. For coming with me. For not being afraid of what I have become." "I am a little afraid," Sumin said honestly. "But you are still my friend. Glowing eyes and super strength do not change that." They sat together in comfortable silence. Around them, the other survivors started to relax. Some even managed to sleep. Sentinel lay near the door, a silent guardian watching over them all. Ji-won closed her eyes and let herself rest. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The coalition fleet. Questions she would need to answer. Decisions that would affect not just humanity, but every species in the galaxy. But tonight she was just Ji-won, a young woman who had survived something terrible and come out changed on the other side. A woman with a friend who still saw her as human despite everything. That was enough. For now, that was enough. The coalition fleet arrived exactly when Minho said it would. 5 massive warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and took position around the moon. Ji-won watched them through the repaired observation windows. They came ready for a fight. The ships had their weapons charged, their shields up. They expected to find a slaughtered outpost and a dangerous creature to destroy. Instead, they found Ji-won standing on the landing pad, calm and glowing. With Sentinel resting peacefully beside her, the lead ship sent a message. "This is Admiral Young-Soo Kang of the Coalition Fleet. We received distress signals from this station. Identify yourself." Ji-won spoke into her communicator, her voice steady and clear. "This is Private Ji-won Kim. I am the ranking survivor of Outpost Valor 7. The situation is under control. Request permission for you to land, Admiral. We have much to discuss." There was a long pause. Then the Admiral's voice came back, confused. "Private Kim, our records show over 200 personnel at your station. What happened to everyone else?" "There are 8 survivors, including myself, sir. The rest were killed. It is a long story. One I would prefer to tell in person." Another pause. "What is that creature beside you?" "That is Sentinel. It is the reason we had casualties. But it is also the reason I am alive. Please, Admiral, land your ship. I promise you are in no danger." Admiral Kang must have been very brave or very curious because he agreed. One shuttle detached from the flagship and descended slowly toward the landing pad. A squad of armed soldiers came out first, their weapons trained on Sentinel. Sentinel did not move. It just watched them with its many eyes, completely calm. Then Admiral Kang stepped out. He was a tall human with gray hair and a face marked by many years of military service. His eyes widened when he saw Ji-won properly. "By all the stars," he whispered. "Your eyes, what happened to you?" "I learned the truth about our species," Ji-won said, "and I became something more than I was. Please, Admiral, let me explain everything." They moved to the command center. Ji-won told the Admiral everything, starting from the moment the alarm first sounded. She explained about the ancient human civilization, about the vault, about the tests and her choice to become a guardian. To prove her claims, she demonstrated her abilities. She interfaced with the facility's computers with just a touch, bringing up data that should have been encrypted. She showed the Admiral the crystal sphere that pulsed with ancient energy. Admiral Kang listened to everything without interrupting. When Ji-won finished, he sat in silence for a long time. "This changes everything," he finally said. "If what you say is true, humanity is not what we thought we were. We have a legacy that goes back millions of years." "Yes, sir. And you want to control how this information is shared?" "Not control, guide. The ancients gave me their knowledge specifically so I could prevent their mistakes from being repeated. If we release everything at once, chaos will follow. Wars, power struggles, the same destruction that drove the ancients away." The Admiral nodded slowly. "You are asking for a lot of trust, Private Kim. You want us to believe that one young woman should decide what knowledge gets shared with the entire galaxy." "I am not asking anyone to follow me blindly," Ji-won said. "I want to work with scientists, leaders, philosophers, people from all species, not just humanity. Together we can figure out how to use this legacy wisely." "But the final decision is yours," the Admiral said. "Yes. Someone has to have that responsibility. The ancients chose me. I wish they had not, but they did." Admiral Kang studied her carefully. Ji-won could see him making calculations, weighing options. "I knew your father," the Admiral said suddenly. "Good man. Died in the border wars. He would be proud of you." Ji-won felt tears sting her eyes. She had not thought about her father in a long time. "Thank you, sir. I will support you," the Admiral said. "But you need to understand what you are taking on. Every government in the galaxy will want access to this knowledge. Some will try to take it by force. Others will try to manipulate you. You will have enemies, I know," Ji-won said. That is why I need allies. People I can trust. People who remember that I am still human even with these changes. The Admiral stood and extended his hand. G1 shook it. Then you have my support, he said. I will report everything to Coalition Command. We will establish a proper protocol for handling ancient sites, and we will give you the authority you need to do your job as Guardian. In the days that followed, more ships arrived. Scientists came to study the vault. Diplomats came to negotiate agreements. Engineers came to examine the ancient technology that G1 allowed them to see. The news spread across the galaxy. Humanity had ancient roots. They were not newcomers to the stars, but returning children of a civilization that once spanned worlds. Some species celebrated this news. Others feared it. A few even became hostile. But slowly, carefully, agreements were made. G1 established a research station on Vylor 7. Minho became her lead scientist. Suman stayed as medical officer and, more importantly, as friend. Together with experts from a dozen species, they began the slow work of understanding the ancient legacy. Sentinel remained as guardian, protecting the vault from those who would misuse it. The creature became famous, a symbol of both the dangers and promises of the ancient knowledge. One evening, 3 months after everything began, G1 stood on the observation deck watching the sunset. Suman found her there. Any regrets? Suman asked. G1 thought about it. She thought about the weight of responsibility she now carried. The long life stretching ahead of her while her friends would age and die. The constant pressure of making decisions that affected billions of lives. Some, she admitted. I never asked for this. I was just a communications officer. Now I am supposed to guide the fate of civilizations. But you are doing it well, Suman said. You have not let the power change who you are inside. That is what matters, G1 smiled. That is because I have you to keep me honest. And Minho with his endless questions. And even Sentinel, reminding me every day of what happens when Guardians fail their duty. They stood together watching the sun sink below the horizon. Do you ever wonder what happened to the ancients? Suman asked. Where they went? All the time, G1 said. I have their memories, their knowledge. But I do not know where they are now. Maybe they found peace somewhere beyond the edge of the galaxy. Maybe they evolved into something we cannot understand. Or maybe they are watching us, waiting to see if we learn from their mistakes. Do you think we will? Suman asked. Learn from their mistakes? G1 looked at her friend, this ordinary human who had stayed by her side through everything, who reminded her every day that power and wisdom were not the same as humanity and compassion. I think we have a chance, G1 said. That is all anyone can ask for. A chance. Behind them, Sentinel entered the observation deck. The massive creature moved to G1's side and lay down, resting its head near her feet. Through their connection, G1 felt its contentment. After millions of years alone, it had purpose again. It had family. The three of them watched the stars come out. Human, modified human, ancient guardian. Together they represented something new, not the old civilization that had fallen, not the young species that had thought themselves newcomers, but something in between, something that might succeed where the ancients had failed. In the vault far below, other secrets waited, maps to different sites, technology not yet revealed, knowledge that would take centuries to properly understand. But that could wait. Tonight was for rest, for friendship, for remembering that even with all her changes, all her power, all her responsibility, G1 was still just a person, still someone who needed friends and quiet moments and time to watch the stars. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, questions from Coalition Command, negotiations with suspicious governments, research projects that would take years to complete. But tomorrow was tomorrow. Tonight, G1 was home. And that was enough.